Hello everybody and welcome to another video from Prop Control. This is Chris, also known as the Zombie King, on both the HG Realms and the WizKid event system. This I'm hoping to be a start of a new series for the channel where I go over a team build. This first video I'm going to be kind of using to introduce the idea and see maybe if it goes well. Hopefully it does. Hopefully you guys like it. From here on out with the videos, I'm probably going to be keeping it to a simple modern format 400-point team build. Although this first video is going to break that rule just to try to get things started to see how you guys like it. So this first team that I'm going to be showing off today is what I used to place in the top 3 the first time at my local event here at Golden Eagle. So something I'm kind of proud of, that after playing for in 12, 13 events over the course of about a year, kind of being always in the middle of the grouping, not really that great, not the worst, but always kind of right in the middle. I finally got to be able to be placed in 3rd. Overall, won 2 out of the 3 matches. So again, something I'm kind of proud of. So this team here, the format first off was it wasn't really necessarily a mystical theme, but the event was a mystical event of some sorts. The only rules was 500 points. 500 points golden is the only rule for it. You can use resources, pretty much anything up to that point, which right before that the Superman Wonder Woman set came out. So I had a lot of figures from that set, so a lot of stuff that you'll see is from that set, Trinity War, and some War of Light stuff. So we'll get right into it then. Alright, so for my first character on this team, I have Necro, who is a pretty good supporting character from the Trinity War. He's from the Trinity War set. He's a pretty good supporting character normally. My whole thought process for this team was to make him a pretty good heavy hitter, which it ended up working out pretty well with how the event went. Normally, I'd say with now rules now, it's probably not a good idea to invest this amount of points into making a character beefier, especially one with the amount of points that he's worth now. I don't think it really would work out now with the current rules and characters that are available, but at that time it worked out pretty well. So for the abilities that we have for Necro across his dial, we have Phase and Teleport, and then Sidestep for the last 2. The Phase and Teleport's on the first 3. Then for attack, he has Penetrating Psychic Blast for the first 3 clicks, and then Precision Strike for the last 2 clicks. For defense, he has Mastermind for the first 3. On the 4th click, he has a stop, kind of like a stock click as a special. I'll go over that in a minute. And then on his last click, he has Regen. And then for damage abilities, he has the special 1 damage for 3 clicks, and then Perplex. So going over his special abilities, he has Improved Targeting, Ignores Hindering Terrain, and Characters, which is perfect for me because I like to do range stuff. A lot of times at events, you'll see me mostly using range stuff. I'm pretty sure everybody kind of expects that from me because that's how I've always been playing. The close stuff, I tend not to do too well when I get into close quarters kind of stuff. I tend to have my characters take pretty heavy damage at that point. So the faster I can hit you, the better is kind of how I go about it. So from there, we got the trait. I Thought We Were Friends. He has Traded Stealth, which is perfect for a character like him with how I have it set up. Because that's pretty much what I did for every one of the games at that event. So at the beginning of the game, you can choose an opposing character, and that character can't target Necro unless Necro or that character is the only character on that force that's left, which is perfect, especially if you know there's a heavy hitter that has a lot of defense, or there's that one annoying character that is kind of built pretty well, like the Nick Fury from the Shield set that Necro everybody was using at all the ROCs. But it's a pretty great piece, and I'm pretty sure everybody kind of knows that at this point. So you choose that Nick Necro. You choose that Nick Fury. Then you can't target Nick Necro. Perfect. At least I thought so. It didn't really work so well against Eric, who beat me in the finals. So that it is what it is. I still did pretty well. Still proud of myself for the event. So I can't complain about it too much. For his white defense ability, that's the 1 stock click on click 4. It's kind of like a stock click. It doesn't necessarily say it, but it acts in a similar way. So when this click is revealed due to taking damage from the opposing character's attack, that attacker has to choose heal that character 3 unavoidable damage, or heal Necro of 1 damage, and then remove a relic or resource assigned to that character, to that attacker. So essentially, you can constantly keep redoing that ability over and over again, because if they don't choose to take 3 damage, which a lot of people didn't, Necro healed 1. Then the next turn he takes it again, kind of in the same situation. It kind of was a stalemate in the game against Kyle for the most part. We did a practice run here. It was kind of funny, kind of watching it. If we were doing what we do now, back then, we probably would record it because it was kind of funny where Hulk was trying to kill Necro, and it just, every time I healed up, because he didn't want to take 3 damage or else his Hulk would have died. Again, kind of funny. That kind of happened with, I think, in the game against Kyle in a similar way. I don't think he was using that Hulk, but he had a similar setup for it. And then his white damage ability is I taught you everything you know. Necro can use Outwit. You give him a power action, target a character within range on line of fire. That character can't use combat or team abilities, and his combat values can't be greater than his printed values, which is good. Again, if you have a team using enhancement and power, or I should say going up against a team that has enhancement and power, a lot of perplexing. I believe that also works for energy shield deflection too. So, and then all team abilities, so all stealth stuff, which is kind of one of those. It gets annoying sometimes having a lot of people use stealth, especially with the new animated Batman set. Like everybody has stealth. So it's kind of one of those nice things that all abilities were stopped if you chose to do it as a power action. In the games that I did, I don't believe I ever did that. Mostly because I was using him as the main attacker instead of a support figure. So technically, I was kind of using Necro wrong based on his powers, but it still kind of worked out in my favor in the long run. All right, next up we have Predator, which I use Predator at 25 point value to equip it onto Necro. Again, I was trying to beef up Necro to do pretty hefty damage. So that, for the most part, with Necro only having 5 clicks of life, I can only use it to click 5 on Predator. After that, Necro is dead anyway. So with that, we have the sidestep, and then on the speed ability, we have sidestep, and then a white speed ability. Again, I'll go over that in a minute. We have energy explosion on the attack, and then on the last 2 clicks that we would have had to use would have been penetrating psychic blast again. Energy explosion kind of worked out pretty nice with Necro in some situations. It didn't occur that much, but it was nice to have. Then we have energy shield deflection across all 5 clicks. Wasn't really needed too much, but again, it did help in some situations. Mostly I chose shape change, which is what he has on the damage ability. They kind of negated an ability that I would have needed later on with one of the resources I was using, so I can have more options available for him. Again, it worked out very well in terms of making him beefier. So that for the Predator, we have the trait, which is the equipment. I'm pretty sure at this point everybody knows what the equipment does. Mostly I have to boost up an attack, or I should say attack and combat value, and choose one ability. Most of the time it's shape change, and for the most part any one of these abilities were higher in terms of comparison to Necro. So depending on the situation, I would choose the attack or the defense, depending on what I need at that time. Kind of just flip-flop between the two. For the white speed ability, we have the Cosmic Love. Predator can use shape change, the Quintessence, and Mystic's team ability. Again, that kind of helped out in some later clicks. It kind of helped negate the shape change that I would have needed before. I kind of kept on going with that. Mystics, Necro already had the Mystics team ability and the Quintessence ability. We would have already gotten willpower from him later from my resource anyway. So the white speed ability wasn't really necessarily needed at the end point of the Necro's dial, but again, it still kind of worked if I needed it. And then for the white damage ability, which we never had to use because Necro would have been dead, is that all characters within range can use mind control. Unfortunately, I didn't. My Necro doesn't have that long of a lifespan, so it never really occurred for that. All right, next up for figures is the John Constantine from Trinity War. He is the normal sculpt compared to Necro's Prime. John Constantine's 90 points. Kind of use him to help out Necro in a lot of situations. We'll go over all his abilities here, and that will show why. I'm pretty sure it's kind of obvious too why I used him, but we'll go over all that here. He has a white special across the first 2 clicks, and then on his 4th click, that white speed ability is once per turn, choose Outwit or Perplex. John Constantine can use that power until your next turn. When you use the chosen power to target an opposing character, that character can't use the chosen power until your next turn. This power can't be countered, which is pretty nice. You get an outwit that can't be outwitted. Most of the time I use him to perplex up Necro. Again, depending on the situation, I would have used the outwit, but most of the time I was perplexing up Necro to, again, make him beefier to hit. With everything coming to, at the end of the video, I'll go over how bad Necro ended up getting at some points. And a lot of times he can almost one-hit kill a lot of figures at that point. It was, again, pretty solid plan, at least I thought. On clicks 3 and 5, he has phasing teleport, which I'm not surprised with a Mystic character. I forgot he does have the Mystic team ability, so just like Necro, you get hit, you take damage. Perfect. For his attack ability, he has telekinesis. At this time of playing, I was still fairly inexperienced and still learning a lot of stuff. Like I used to play for fun years ago when Chaos War and all that came out, but I didn't use a lot of abilities because it didn't really fit to my playstyle. Nowadays, I use telekinesis a little bit more often, but I never really used telekinesis at this point. So I didn't really, at that time, I didn't really see much of a use. Nowadays, looking back on it, I should have used it. He has nothing on his second and fourth click, but on his third and fifth, he has penetrating psychic blast. For defense, he just has energy shield deflection on the first 3 clicks. And then for his damage ability is where he kind of comes into his own. He alternates between his white damage ability, which is the prob control, but he used twice, which is why I stuck him with Necro. It's like I get 2 probs, and that's perfect. And then on the other 2 clicks, he has exploit weakness. So other than the 2 abilities I just went over, he has a trait, although my team wasn't set up for this. For the most part, I think the only character that affected was himself. Was that John Constantine can use stealth. Adjacent friendly characters with Justice League Dark Keyword can also use stealth, but I didn't have any other characters with Justice League Dark on this team, so that never got the full use of that ability other than just John Constantine having stealth. So next up, we get more into what our supporting characters are. The first one is the Warlock from the World's Finest set. He is a pretty nice figure in terms of support. He has phasing teleport and sidestep with the 7 movement. Wasn't really needed too much. I just pretty much put him up next to Necro and John Constantine, mostly because of his damage ability. Pretty much the only real reason to use him anyway. He does have combat reflexes on his defense, and then his white damage ability. The rest of his style, he doesn't have much going on for him. His white damage ability, which is why I really chose him, is Empower. Unique modifier. When adjacent friendly character with a mystical keyword makes a close combat attack, modify their attack 5 by +1. So not only do you get Empower, but you get +1 to attack. With Necro already getting perplexing from John Constantine and the +1 to a combat value from Predator, I pretty much get to pick my attack. Empower, I get to boost up my damage on a close attack. He starts becoming a pretty good heavy hitter. Again, that's the whole reason why I kind of made this team. He did a lot of damage in the long run. But that's pretty much it for the Warlock. He doesn't have any team affiliation, just simple 20 points, 5 range. Really nothing else going on him other than that really good support with the unique modifier. Alright, and my next supporting character is the Witch, again from World's Finest. Has a very similar ability to the Warlock, but a little bit different. She has enhancement, so you're going to get +1 damage except on range. Again, with how my team is already designed at this point, everything's range, so it's perfect. She also has a unique modifier, as when adjacent friendly character with a mystical keyword makes a ranged combat attack, modify their attack 5 by +1. So I'm pretty sure at this point you can see that with these guys being right next to Necro and John Constantine, that regardless of what Necro did, he already had a +1 to attack, +1 to damage, 2 prop controls, perplexing from John Constantine, the +1 to combat values from Predator. Again, very strong combat values overall with all these add-ons to it. She doesn't, just like the Warlock, she doesn't have any team affiliation. She's 20 points and has a 5 range. But again, that stuff didn't really matter too much. Again, she has sidestep, phasing teleport, just like the Warlock did, or very similar to the Warlock. And then she had energy shield deflection on her defense ability. But other than that, everything else is pretty plain. Alright, and last off for my current characters for this team is Zoom from the Flash set. He has no range, no team affiliation, but he's 150 points. He, at this time, I thought was a fairly solid character in terms of how characters can be. But again, I was just starting to get back in the game. I had a couple sets of figures. The Flash set, I just happened to purchase a brick a while back before this. So I really wanted to use him too. He had some crazy abilities going on. So first off, on his dial, we have Hypersonic for the first 3 clicks, and then the last 2, with the middle click 4 and 5 being charged. Throughout the first half of his attack dial, he has a special attack ability, which is Tragedy will make you better. When he attacks an opposing character with the lowest point value on the character's voice, modifies Zoom's attack and damage values by +1. When he attacks an opposing character with the highest point value on that character's force, Zoom can use Precision Strike. So again, very strong character. As long as you're targeting somebody really high or really low in terms of point values. He did pretty well for me in the terms of the event, except the game against Eric. My team pretty much fell apart compared to his, but he had pretty much everything that stopped my team. So I can't really be too angry with that. Got outplayed. That is what it is. Then for his defense, we got Super Senses for the first 3 clicks, and then we got Impervious for click 4 and 5, and then Energy Seal Deflection on the last 2. So kind of standard for the most part in terms of speed characters. Flash always tends to have Super Senses, and Quicksilver, they all kind of have that stuff. The Impervious was nice to have in the middle of the dial. Not too many fast characters or hypersonic characters have that going on for them. It was a nice little thing to have. Then for damage abilities, he has a white damage ability for the first 5 clicks, which is in all the timelines simultaneously. It's a nice ability to have. So this one is, at the beginning of your turn, remove all timeline tokens from this card, roll a d6, and place a number of timeline tokens on this card equal to half the result. Remove a timeline token from Zoom's card, and he can use probability control, even if he has done so already. So pretty much with how this works, you have a minimum result of 1, because that it always rounds up in your favor, unless that changed, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. And then your maximum that you can have is 3. So you have up to 3 Prob controls, at least 1, with how my team's currently at, depending on the situation. John Constantine already had the double Prob going on for him too. So again, a lot of stuff going on for this team, a lot of randomness. Again, worked out very, very well for me. I almost guaranteed a hit, no matter who it was, regardless if it was Zoom or Necro. I was hitting no matter what I was doing. Besides that, he has a trait where he has 2 different traits things going on. He has Zoom can use Shape Change as a normal trait, and then he has improved targeting or improved movement. My bad. He ignores Elevate Terrain and Hindering. So pretty much you move your full 12, make an attack, then you're pretty much good from there. I say it's pretty self-explanatory there. Alright, so for my last character here on the team, we have Despotellis. He's on the War of Light set. He's 30 points. I saw him once at a previous event where one of our more experienced guys, he was using him. He's very annoying, and I figured I gotta have him. He's just very annoying, to put it simply. His dial, he doesn't have any speed or attack combat values. He is all defense, and then all his abilities. His trait is Despotellis. It's called Virus. Despotellis does not require opponents to break away. Despotellis does not block line of fire and cannot have its combat values increase. He stays how he is the entire time, unless you have somebody on your team, like on the opposite team, that can perplex down. It's something that I didn't really pay attention to originally. When I actually went up against him in a previous event, that he actually decreased his defense, which would kind of help a little bit. But knowing my luck, I didn't have anybody with perplex on that team, knowing myself. He has a white speed ability. The sickness is already inside you. When an adjacent opposing character is moved or placed, you may place Despotellis adjacent to that character. After action resolved, when an adjacent opposing character is KO'd, you may place Despotellis adjacent to another opposing character after action resolved. So if you already have him against an opposing character, that character can move freely because of his trait, but Despotellis will always be there. You can place him right afterwards, right next to that character again. And if that character dies, you move into another one. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter if it's range, line of fire. It doesn't matter. He just goes to wherever you want him to go. And then he also has a white attack ability, which is Pandemic of Fear, which is where he kind of comes into his own with this ability here. Despotellis can use poison. When he does, he may use it normally, or instead deal each adjacent opposing character's penetrating damage equal to the number of action tokens on that character. That power cannot be counted, which is really nice, especially if you're dealing with a swarm team. That's sometimes what I deal with at events, is just get swarmed by pogs and bystanders and all that kind of stuff. You can just use poison normally, to use penetrating damage to get a little bit extra out of it on some of the bigger pieces. It's a very nice ability. He's very annoying, very hard to hit with a 20 defense, but again, if the opposing character has Perplex, you can bring that down a little bit. But again, he worked pretty well against almost all teams except for that last one, the last one that I lost in the event. So, a very nice figure overall. Alright, so the last portion here is the resource that I used, which is the green power battery. The power battery is pretty self-explanatory in what it does. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it out there anyway, so I won't go over all the notes on there about it because it has a lot of words, and I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to hear me go over every single word going on there. But the basics is, the basic of this power battery is that I can use everything being green. I can give everybody willpower that ends up being a core member, which I had 5 constructs, which equals out to pretty much everybody on my team being a core member. It happened to work out just that way that I had 5 of them at this point in time. The constructs that I used were the boxing glove, which gives a character close combat expert, which would work on Necro in the close combat situations. I had the crossbow, which gave range combat expert, which, as you could probably guess, is what I use most of the time. With all the powers that were being given to Necro, where he had all the perplexing, all the enhancement and powers, and +1 to attack, +1 to defense, and all that stuff. Pretty much I used those 2 to fill in the last bits of combat values. Pretty much made sure I had a +3 on both dials. Made Necro a very, very strong character, guaranteed to hit in almost any case as long as I didn't critical miss, which didn't happen often anyway. On the off chance that he did take damage, I had the construct for the nurse, which gives regen. It was mostly just in case I was in a spot where I wasn't on that regen click, but I still kind of needed it, or at least wanted to prepare for it. Again, didn't really happen too much. It was mostly on John Constantine and Zoom for the most part, but it was kind of a worst case scenario in case I was stuck in a weird situation. I kind of needed it earlier than when I actually would get it on his dial. We had the energy shield deflection construct, which is the only green construct for the shield. The shield is only green, I should say. So yeah, energy shield deflection. Normally had that on Zoom because mostly I keep them out of range, so people, or keep them out of the close combat situation, so people would have to hit them on range. Which, making the energy shield deflection, depending on his dial at the time, he'd be pretty hard to hit anyway. Again, it worked very well for the most part. And then I had the decoy, which gives shape change. With how the team was set up, Necro didn't need it. Zoom and Constantine were mostly needing it, and again, it kind of worked out for the team. Overall, I think, again, it was a very solid team setup. Made everybody hard to hit. Everybody hit pretty hard too. Didn't really have too much in the way of stealth busters that I went up against. So it was a very good team. Again, I was very proud of the setup for it. Something that kind of came up on my own for the first time. Other times I had Kyle or Brandon here and try to help me out in setting up a team. They mostly, since they played or picked characters that fit their playstyles, it didn't really work out for me so much. So this one being the first time that I was able to set up a team by myself, and it worked very well. Again, I was very proud of it. Overall, this event was a very, very good moment. Again, overall, I can't be too upset with placing third for the first time. I missed third place by 3 points, so kind of annoyed about that. But that's still a little salty over that. But it wasn't upsetting. Looking back on it now, sure, there's some things I could have done better. but I did pretty well. The first match I was up against Kyle, who from the channel here. I beat him. It wasn't a total wash. I got almost 300 points, where he barely got 100 points on me. So it wasn't a complete wash, but it was still a challenge, mostly because we kind of knew how our teams were. The second match, I went up against Al, who just used the Colossal Trigon, I think from the Teen Titans set, which, again, with how my team was, I hit him pretty hard. Didn't take much in terms of Mystics damage. He couldn't hit me. It was a very, I want to say, quick game, but I was able to do a lot of damage very quickly, which is kind of really what you want to do anyway in terms of competitive. You want to put out a lot of stuff out there, hit quickly, make sure you're not easily hit, which is a lot of stuff that I tend to forget about. I don't place characters too well in maps, so that's usually my downfall for the most part. And then the final match, I went up against Eric. I didn't get too many points on him. He completely wiped me out for the most part. Again, I can't be too upset with that. Eric is a very, very experienced player. So, and at that point, that's probably the first time I actually really played against him in a constructed event. So, being able to play pretty well in the finals, then being the top two at that point, I wasn't upset with that. So, it was a very, very fun event. Again, it was a great time. Man. And with that, we're now at the end of this video here today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you maybe learned something, or for those of you that were at the event, found something that you forgot about. Remember that I'm actually better than what I normally am. I always appreciate that kind of support. Although we have a good support at our events anyway, so I can't say there's no support there. We always give each other some ideas and talk about figures that we haven't used yet, or some that we forgot abilities for. One of our other players, Rick, reminded me of a figure that I completely forgot about that I actually wanted to use for the ROC team build idea that I currently have, because that one of my next upcoming videos will be what I would have used for an ROC tournament if I would have gone. So he happened to give me a pretty good reminder on a figure I should have been using to begin with. So from there, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm glad you guys stuck out with me with this. Hopefully, you guys didn't get too bored with me talking. So I always hope I don't bore people to death. But then don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Again, there's going to be more videos. The ROC one's going to be my next project for this. From there on, I'm going to be making more consistent videos in terms of point values. My team ideas from there on will be fitting a format of 400 points in Modern, just to try to keep it consistent across the board for you guys, especially for some of the newer people who are still kind of learning about Heroclix, learning about team abilities and just abilities in general. Just kind of want to keep everything very simple and very straightforward, because that bringing up some old figures may not work in the new rules, and vice versa. Things may cause some more problems. So the more simple I can make it for the newer people, the better. And then for some of the more experienced people, hopefully I make something that may surprise you. Something you didn't think about, maybe an ability or a character you may have forgotten about. That's my kind of hope for this series here, is to kind of give you ideas and thoughts about figures that you may have forgotten about, or maybe never thought about using before. And then, of course, I will always take opinions, thoughts from you guys, especially some our local people here at our local events here. New ideas, new characters, thoughts on some that I haven't thought about yet, or maybe just to overlook because I didn't think that character was good enough. I always appreciate opinions on those kind of things. And of course, here on the channel, we always appreciate your input on our content, letting us know when we mess up. We're, again, like I said before, we're not the most experienced people. We're good. We're not the greatest. We will make mistakes in our games. I'm sure you guys have seen that, where we mess up on placements and abilities and how things work. Unfortunately, we don't have a judge here with us all the time. It would be great if we did, but we don't always have that. So we kind of have to figure it out on our own sometimes. And again, not being the top tier guys, we won't always remember those kind of things. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. Subscribe if you have not, and we'll see you guys next time.